Okay, hello. So I said I was going to make a video on how to make a Slugcat. Unscripted video. So the first thing I'm gonna do is have my scene here, just a general scene. It starts with the default cube, a light source, and camera. I'm going to go ahead and delete the light source and the camera because we don't need it. The keybind for deleting objects is X. And then I'm going to just use this default cube. I'm going to select it. And first thing, I'm going to go over to modifiers over here on the right and add modifier. I'm going to add a mirror modifier. And basically, if you don't know what a mirror modifier does, it will take the mesh, the object, and it will reflect it off of this orange dot right here. And if you try moving the object in object mode, it will move the orange dot with it, so you won't see the mirror modifier working. If you go into edit mode up here and you select your object, you move it around. Well, it should be, hold on. Here we go. If you move your object, you'll see it moving on both sides. It's reflected across the y-axis right now. So if you press 1 on the numpad, that'll take you to the front orthographic view. And basically that's just going to make it to where if we move it, we'll see it like that. And then also there's no perspective in this view. So I'm going to enable clipping. That way the object will do this side here will stay connected. But I am going to very quickly enable X-ray mode, or you can also just do wireframe. Either works. I'm going to do X-ray mode though. And I'm going to select this face here in the center and delete that, because if you don't delete it later along the line, it can cause shading issues for you. So I've got this cube here now that has a mirror modifier. It's split down the y-axis. That way any changes I make to this side will also happen to this side, and I don't have to worry about the model being asymmetrical. So now that I have that, I'm also going to apply a subdivision modifier. There we go. And basically what this does is it takes a face, like this face, and it divides it into 4 smaller faces. So it will give us more topology to work with. But before we apply this modifier, we can move stuff around. Just move a singular face and it will move all of these faces. So it makes it really easy to block things out, but also see kind of what it will look like after you apply the subdivision. So I did actually forget really quickly. I'm going to go back into object mode, and I'm going to add a reference image. And this is not really necessary. I just like to do it because having a reference helps me get things proportional. Usually whenever I'm modeling something, I draw a reference myself, but I'm going to be trying to replicate the Rain World art style. So I'm going to use my Slugcat reference. I'm going to scale it down just a little bit and then move it up here. You don't have to scale it down. I just like to scale it down. Okay, so now that we have our reference, I'm going to select this object again and go back into edit mode. And this I'm going to have as the head, which I will probably have connected to the body, so head and body. And I'm going to scale it to the same size. Like I said, I usually draw my own reference because this isn't a very good reference for me in Blender. Usually I'll have a character T-posing. This is just to help me see kind of where things are supposed to be. I'm actually going to move this over. Go back to this. So I think I've got this about the right size of the head. And now that I have that, I'm going to come down here and select this face. And I'm going to go back into front orthographic view. And I'm going to press E to extrude. We'll turn this into kind of an oval shape. Scale this out. You can press S to scale just a little bit here. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to extrude down and scale up just a little bit. Bring that down just a little bit. If you want to snap something to an axis, by the way, like this, where I have it snapped to the Z axis, you just press X, Y, or Z for the axis that you want. So now that we have this, I'm going to do edge select up here. I'm going to select this edge, go back into front orthographic, I'm going to drag this down just a little bit to give it kind of more of a curve here. And then I'm going to come up here to this face, and I'm not going to select it, but if you press Ctrl R, you can do a loop cut. You click and you can drag it down to where you want it to be. I'm going to put it right here, that way I can kind of make the neck. So I drag this in a little bit. Actually, I'm going to add another one right here. Okay, and I'll select these. And now I'll do this. Don't really worry about the side view right now. It's we'll get to it. And then I'll select these. I'm gonna scale them down just a little bit. Okay. Now that we have kind of this bowling pin shape, I'm going to now switch to side view. You can press 3 on the numpad to go into this orthographic view. I'm not sure which one it is. I guess the X. I'll do these, select these, because this is very wide. I don't want the Slugcat to be this wide. And I'm going to scale it along the y-axis. Can I just make it about like that? And then also, I feel like usually Slugcat would have their head a little bit forward, and their spine would kind of be like this. So I'm going to grab this and move it along the y-axis. I'm gonna move these as well just a little bit. And then I'm going to just move this without snapping to any axis. These as well. I like this shape a little bit more. I think I'm going to stick with that, at least for now. And I'm going to go back into the front view and really quickly scale this down just a bit. Okay. And now that I have this body shape, I'm going to go ahead and apply my subdivision multiplier. Go back into object mode and apply that. It has kind of come down just a little bit right here. So I'm just gonna select these vertices in edit mode and drag them back up just a little bit. Now that I have the subdivision modifier applied, you can see that all of these faces, all of the vertices, I can move them. I'll come back to that a little bit later, but for now this is kind of the basic shape that I'll be using. I'm going to now make the ears because it's pretty easy. So in object mode, you can add another object by coming over to here, mesh, and then you can add the object that you want. I'm going to be using cubes. You can also use like an icosphere or a UV sphere or something for like a cylinder, like an ear, but I like to stick with the cube because it is a lot easier to keep up with the topology. That way I don't have to go back and retopologize it later whenever I'm just doing a low poly creation. So I'll take this cube, I'll apply the same modifiers as before, my mirror modifier and my subdivision modifier. This time I'm going to leave clipping off because I don't need these to be together. I'm going to drag these up, scale them down, and position them about right here. I'm going to turn back on X-ray mode. That way I can select both of the vertices forward and behind. And I'm going to extrude up. And I'm going to do it again just so we have a little bit of extra topology. And then select the whole object by pressing A. And I'm going to rotate it by pressing R. And then just move it down a little bit. And right now it doesn't really matter that it's clipping through right here. The way I'm going to teach you guys to make this model is not really going to matter if things are clipping through the mesh, because the shaders I'm going to use don't really have shadows. So there should be no real shading issues. But anyways, sideways view, I'm going to rotate these back just a little bit, position them like here. Now that I have the ears, I'm going to do arms and the legs. I'm going to start with the arms, so go to object mode, add object, cube, And we'll do the same thing kind of as the ears up here. Mirror modifier and subdivision modifier. Edit mode. I'm going to scale these down and move them up here to where I want the arms to be. So I'm going to put these kind of right below the neck and take these. Make sure you select the front and back. And I'm going to extrude them out, make them just a little bit thinner. Slugcat has very twiggy arms. And then I'm going to have some extra topology right here just in case I want to rig this, and usually where a joint bends, like an arm, an elbow, or a knee or something, you want to have extra topology. That way whenever it bends you don't have plane being squished very awkwardly. If I do a rigging video then you'll probably see, but I'm going to extrude this up just a little bit. I'm going to scale it down just a little because usually the wrist is a bit smaller than the upper arm. I'm also going to scale this one down, and this one, and then scale this up just a tiny bit. Alright, and now I'm going to actually move this back just a tiny bit. And then here's going to be my wrist. To do the fingers, I like to just use these two squares here and then this square here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into object mode. I'm going to apply the subdivision surface modifier, go back into edit mode, and with these plane selection, I'm going to turn X-ray mode off. I will select these two planes right here and extrude to just about right there. Extrude again, that way we can bend just a little bit right here. And then select these two and do the same thing. There's two very blocky fingers, but we'll work on it. And then I'm going to make the thumb, or the third finger. And then now, to kind of fix this shape, because it's a very awkward shape, I'm going to add a loop cut right here. By the way, to go into a top view, I press 7 on the numpad. So I'm going to turn on X-ray, and I'm going to select these three vertices. There's one down here. And I'm going to pull this out right here. And I'm also going to select these, put them there. Then I will select these. And then for this finger, I'm going to pull this out just a little bit. And these, make them a little bit pretty. I think that will work for our hands. It's not the best, but it will do. So I will turn that off. And quickly just take these and scale them down just a little bit. There we go. There's our Slugcat's arms, and now I'm going to do the legs. So add object, cube, mirror, subdivision, edit mode. I'm going to scale it down just a bit. And Slugcat has very thick legs right here, but then they get very thin, kind of like the arms. So what I tend to do is I take this kind of big circle, turn this on, switch it down just a little. And then I'm going to scale this down up here just a little bit, that way I can move it like this. These I'm going to move out like this just a tiny bit. And then next I'm going to inset, and to do that you press I. It's going to take this plane and make a smaller plane inside of it like this. And I'm going to bring that down just a tiny bit and then move it back about right there. Scale it down just a little more. Okay. And then also if you go below this red line, it doesn't really matter. I just like to keep it above the red line because it kind of helps me visualize a floor, I guess. So I'm going to extrude this to kind of make the lower legs. I'm going to add a loop cut here just to make it kind of thinner because Slugcat has very thin leg down at the bottom of the leg. Then I move this back. I'm going to add another loop cut here, that way have some more topology. So I'm going to go into edit mode, apply the subdivision, and now I'm going to select these and extrude out. And I'm not going to worry about the bending because this video is already getting a little bit long. Take this and this, and I will scale it up just a bit on the x-axis, and then just to make the bottom of the foot a little bit more straight, I'm going to move that up. I'm going to go into sculpt mode because in sculpt mode you can easily move around a lot of topology like relatively quickly. So I'm going to kind of move this up just a little bit and then move this like that. Now this may kind of mess up the symmetry of like the toes down here. Again, it doesn't really matter to me right now because I'm just... But there are a lot of places where you can just use the sculpt tools to help speed up the process just a little bit. So we have our legs now, and now I'm going to do the tail, and after the tail we will do the face, I promise. But first we do the tail, so I make a cube. Mirror modifier isn't really necessary for this, but I'm going to use it just because it makes things a little bit easier for me. Subdivision. I'll turn on clipping for this one since it's just a singular object here. Edit mode. I'll move it like this, and then select the interface here and delete it. Alright, and then I will scale this down and move it here and back. Now that our Slugcat has a bunny tail, we will take this face and we will extrude it, scale down just a little bit, extrude again, and scale down again. And now you have your Slugcat a tail. If you want it to kind of be on the ground, I tend to keep it whenever I'm making my models. I keep the tail off the ground just when I'm modeling because it makes it a little bit easier to rig it. But if you want the tail to be on the ground, you just select these and you can move it like so. Maybe not exactly like that. You can just move it down. I'm gonna turn this on. And then your Slugcat's tail is on the ground. Alright. And then really quickly, I'm gonna move this all up above that red line just because it makes my brain happy. And now I'm going to go back here and I'm going to edit this. Actually, I'm going to go into sculpt mode and kind of do this just a little bit. I select these two faces here and I'm going to extrude them out just a little bit, scale down, extrude out a little bit more and scale down. And then I will also scale it this way. It has a very blocky snout, so I'm going to add just a little bit of detail here. Select this, move it down just a little. And I like to have the nose kind of pointy, so I just move that up a little bit. And then I'll take this vertice and this vertice, and I'm going to move them in just a little to make kind of a rounded shape here, same with these two. And typically for the face, I kind of have the line here for the eyes. So I'm going to bring this in just a little bit. Oh, whoops. And this will be where I kind of start for our eyes, but first I'm going to add just a little bit more topology. Maybe not like that. If you press the K button, you can draw on topology. So I'm going to just do this. If you were going to be putting this into like a game or animating it or something, you might not want to have the triangles because they can cause shading issues. But again, the shaders I'm going to use for this shouldn't have any issue with triangles. I'm actually going to go into sculpt mode again really quickly, and I'm going to use the smooth brush to kind of just smooth this down a little bit. And then the grab brush. I think I'm also going to add just a little bit more topology up here. Oh, oops. The only issue with having a triangle on here is that it does mess with loop cuts, so actually I'm going to move this up here. I do triangles because I am lazy. Okay, now I can add a loop cut here, and I'm going to add one here as well. And go back into sculpt mode, and I'm going to make the forehead a bit more kind of up here. And then I'm going to smooth the sides because it's not very smooth. Okay, that's a little bit better. Go to edit mode, I'm going to go to vertice select. I'm going to move this in just a little bit because if we look over here, the Slugcat's eyes are actually kind of spaced a little bit far apart. If you want them to be close together, we can move them close together like this, or we can have them farther apart. I tend to have them kind of close together. We'll use this line as kind of the eyeball, and then we will use the knife tool to cut out the rest of our eyeball shape. And then right here, I will just kind of do that. Again, this is not very good topology, but bear with me. I would like to remind everyone quickly that I am not a professional. I'm completely self-taught, so anything that I do kind of weird, that's probably why. And the reason I'm connecting these up here is because I don't like having any ingons, which are just faces with more than 4 sides. Okay, so I have kind of this oval shape here. So now that I have that, I'm going to also make a nose shape on the tip of the nose here. So now I'm going to go into the shader tab, and I'm also going to hide this. I'm going to go into the shading tab up here at the very top. That way I can start working on giving the Slugcat some shaders. So it should automatically give you this shader here, a principled BSDF, and the material output. Just select the principled BSDF and just go ahead and delete that. Don't worry about this. To do search, you press Shift and A, and we're going to put a RGB. This will let us just do a single color, and it will output that single color on the surface once we connect color to surface here. I'm going to make it white. I'm going to go into edit mode here and select these faces here for the eye and the surface there for the nose. And over here where it says slot 1, I'm going to add another slot. And new material, again just delete the principled BSDF and add a RGB, whatever these things are called, I forgot. And this one I'm going to make black, and then you'll see that it's not showing up right here. That's because we already have the white color or the other shader applied to it. So we'll just go down to the material tab over here. It's this red circle icon, and we will click assign, and it should put it on any of the faces that you have selected. So now our Slugcat has eyes and a nose. And very quickly I'm just going to adjust these a little bit. So now that our Slugcat has a face, we're going to go ahead and start applying the shaders to the rest of the parts. So we can click this icon right here that will bring up our materials that we have made. And I'm going to apply the white. And I'm going to just do this for all of these. And that's how I make a Slugcat fast version. If we go back into layout up here, you can do material preview to see shaders that we've applied. And we now have a Slugcat. I think I'm going to end it here, but if you guys would like to see a video on how to rig the Slugcat, depending on how many people ask, I may make the video, or at least just a tutorial of some kind on it. But again, I'm not really a professional at modeling. I've just been doing it for fun. So, yeah. Sloogcat.